All right, welcome to another episode of Comic Book Squares. We're going to do another interview today with an old friend of the show back on. My name's Shane.
I'm Paul.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Mike. Let's get this show started.
All right, Anthony. Well, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and where you're at with the project?
Absolutely. So, my name is Anthony. I've been making comic books for a little under 2 years at this point, and I'm working on my comic book series, Decay. And I'm releasing issue 3. I'm starting a couple new series next year. So, hoping to put my foot in the gas for next year.
Nice. Hey, so you got Decay. I know that's up on it's on Kickstarter. Running currently, and so we get just let everybody know we'll have the links and stuff on the show notes and all that. So go check that out. We're on to issue 3, and
Yes.
I don't want to spoil anything for other people, but I noticed that when I was reading it, I saw that some people who we thought were going to be the villain, so to speak, is actually, a lot more complex and a lot more going on there. Was that the plan from the start, or is that something you kind of, as you were progressing with the story, you're like, oh, maybe I should try this out? Or
Might call it Shakespearean. Perhaps.
Yeah, right.
No, that was the start. So my process is I write if I try to write out the entire series, and I typically work in 5 to 6 issue series. So I try to write everything out because I think the worst thing is when you think of something and you already printed it out. So this was I had issue 5 script written before issue 1 was like a frame was drawn. And so that was always the plan, to kind of circle back and there's little details I was really adamant about in the first issue that, kind of came back.
Yeah. I love that. I love that callback on issue 3 and giving us a different point of view of the events that unfolded in issue 1. That was great.
Thank you.
Love it. Still this great momentum, man. That's one thing I love about this series. You just got this great momentum going through. And we talked about it the last time you were on the show. It's very cinematic in the way that you've that all the panels are laid out, so it's keeps that tension and that action kind of moving along. So kudos.
Yeah, pacing was a huge point of emphasis. Keeping things moving. This was more dialogue heavy than the previous ones, but I still think it was a pretty good balance of not too many words on the page.
Yeah. I think you've done a great job with these issues. Is when you kind of like what Ben was talking about. I think that perspective that you bring. I mean, there's so much that you've done such a wonderful job bringing so much emotion and feelings into almost kind of assumptions that the reader's making as the story's progressing. And then again, you drop that bomb and you provide a little bit of different perspective. And it's amazing because your emotions and your feelings about that character or situation can just 180 degrees, which I think is to me, it seems like a very tough thing to do, but you seem to be doing it so well. Is that just your style, or have you worked on developing those kinds of skills?
I think you use a lot of shorthand. I think I like to use shorthand for a lot of storytelling, because I try to keep things moving at a fast pace, like I said. So you're using so much shorthand, it's not like the characters are you kind of show them one way and then you kind of reveal, kind of peel back. It's like reverse character development, essentially. You show them and then kind of explain it later. That keeps things interesting and you're not stopping to develop the characters. You're letting the story unfold as you are developing the characters.
Beautiful job.
Thank you.
Yeah, loving it.
Actually,
funny. Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I'm sorry. I kind of want to jump off just the story elements, but back to the idea of keeping the momentum going. Ben, you had mentioned that story-wise, but one thing I wanted to ask you about was, how do you keep your momentum going? Here you are, on book 3. I can I know how hard it is just to get that first book out and get that sense of accomplishment. But then how do you keep that momentum going with yourself and with the team to keep going with more episodes, more issues?
A lot of coffee, a lot of sugar-free Red Bull is my beverage of choice. I think you get into a rhythm. What's great about writers, because I'm not the artist, is you write the script and then a lot of it is just kind of like quality assurance from there on out, and then it's kind of hands off. So it's really easy for us to keep these things moving and even work on multiple series because we're not attending to it every second of the day. Like an artist, it's less time consuming. So that's one way. Really getting into a groove, planning things out, but also having a flexibility to change and make plans as well. And that's the biggest thing is I don't do deadlines. I do very, very loose deadlines. Like I have Baltimore Comic-Con coming up this weekend. So I said, hey, if you can get it to me by this date, left myself a couple weeks to get the print, all that stuff, gave them time as well. So it's just planning and being loose as well when you need to be.
Well, that begs the question, because you said, working on stuff and not having like every second of every day working on a particular project. Like, how long does it take you to turn out a 24-page script?
Nah, I can get it done. Like when I outline it, I can get it done in like a couple of days. I can write a script. I'll write like 4 pages because it usually end up like 12-page scripts. I kind of write I'll write like 4 pages a day, kind of get momentum going, and then like take that, send it around, get feedback, and kind of try to keep momentum going throughout the project. Essentially.
Got it. That's awesome, man. A couple of days knocking that out.
It's a lot. I outline crazy. So when I do my outlines, what I started doing that really helped with pacing was I outline the scene and then I outline the dialogue. So one of my favorite scenes of reference is A Dark Knight, the interrogation. Mm-hmm. So if I was supposed to outline that, I would say, Gordon leaves, Batman comes in, they fight, etc. But I would actually, if I was going to outline it, I would say Gordon tries to be peaceful, Joker's dismissive, like this guy walks out, Batman slams, the whole bit about the whole like don't hit the head first. I would break that down. So essentially when I would write the script, it's like just plugging it in. So that's how I get that done. And it's a good way. It gives you like an easy pathway through the dialogue because you're not adding a bunch of like superfluous stuff. It's all essential to the story.
Right. Man, it takes me a few hours to write a text message, so kudos to you.
No, I'm terrible at texting. No, like it's like I'm a bit of a savant in that way, but like I'll stare at a text for an hour.
Especially now with that new edit function they've got, right?
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, you can send a text and then go back and fix it after.
Is that Apple?
Yeah.
iPhone, yeah. Oh, I
that's
didn't
a
mean
game
to say
changer.
that. Oops. Goddamn
That's a game
autocorrect. I'm not saying this ducking thing. I don't even have a duck. So Anthony, one thing I wanted to ask you, when you were talking about the script and everything and how you were constructing it, I guess the question I have is, and I'm sure the answer is going to be very, very close, how closely you work with your illustrator, Marcelo. Is this like a partnership where you go back and forth on specific pages, scenes, script, or is it you get it done, you hand it off, he takes it from there, gives you something? How does that interaction work?
It's not a true collaboration because it is a work for hire. Not that I don't value Marcelo, but it's just a fact. It's not a true collaboration. I love input, but there like we still have to. Yeah, and like I said, there's a point in the story where we double back, so we especially need to, like dot our T's and cross our I's at that point. And I feel as if I think it works because at a certain point, it's not the artist's job to do some of this stuff. It's not the artist's job to like kind of do foreshadowing or stuff like that. That's the writer's job. That's our job, So I do value Marcel's input, but it is largely like I write the scripts and he makes the scripts. It's his version of the script, and we kind of like meet in the middle somewhere.
Sure. Yeah, and I think a lot of the creators we've talked to, it ranges. It ranges from they've known each other since they were 4 years old, up to hey, I need somebody to draw this. I've got a script. who wants to draw it, and it's a business collaboration, but it ends up being, it's a work of art regardless, right? So that's that's great.
My friend Richard talks about he's significantly older than me. I think he's like 37, but he talks about how back in the day it used to be two people in a room making comic books, and I think he says we've lost some of that collaboration when you're making everything remotely. You're not in the same room, and I can see what he's saying to an extent, so I do think that would be optimal to be in the room with the guy, like you're going back.
But
and forth.
even with the big two, you got Brian Michael Bendis living in Cleveland, writing Superman. He's not living in New York or L.A. outside D.C. Publishing or anything. So even the more established companies out there are nobody's coming to the office that way anymore. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So with your marketing, so that was one thing we talked about in the previous episode.
Okay.
And I still see you like nailing the marketing and like trying out new techniques and stuff like that because obviously we follow you online and everything. What have been some new things you've tried recently to get eyes on the book?
And I didn't come up with this, but I have my Kickstarter link pinned, and I was like, "Hey, is this link working for y'all?" So I can get some clicks. Didn't work yet.
I saw that today, and I almost went over there, and then I was like, "Wait a second, Anthony, I know what you're doing."
No, it's. I'm trying to think of some real. Man, sometimes I wish I had time to think about this stuff. It's so much of just trying different things and trying new things and just trying to get like, hey, would you buy this cover? Is what I've been doing is just trying to get engagement. I wish I had like a more detailed answer, but it's just whatever you think people respond to in that moment, you give it a shot. And I think people are too frigid in their marketing. And I made the argument that the indie comic market is oversaturated right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if people disagree. Some people disagree, which is fine. But what you're seeing is like, this is rare to do like a one-on-one interview on a podcast is rare. A lot of these guys are doing like 2 guests, 3 guests, 4 guests, because there's only so many platforms and there's so many projects. I launched last Tuesday. And I got a notification for 5 other projects launching that day, and it's not enough publishers, and it's just so many projects, and it's good. That's why you have to kind of step up your marketing and really stand out.
Right. It goes back to what we were saying earlier when offline when we were talking about like Disney Plus and stuff. It's just too much content. I agree with you that it's kind of. I try to keep up with all the stuff on Kickstarter, obviously, and all of us here, we keep up with a lot of the indie comic publishers, and there's just so much coming out right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing, you go on to Netflix and you could just scroll for, hours and it's always new content that's there. And it's the same thing going to the comic shop and, there's just rows and rows and rows of new stuff every single week. And it's definitely, and the same thing with music too. I feel like all of it, there's just so much and it's hard to stand out. So, it's a challenge. For sure. Yeah,
and I mean, and you say music and Netflix, and these things are things that you're going to get available to you for a subscription for like we're talking about like a single digit price tag. But you're talking about indie comics, you're talking about $5 for 24 pages, 28 pages. So it's a dicey market right now, and I'm trying to navigate. But I'm seeing a lot of projects right now, a lot by big creators that are not doing what I would think. So we gotta figure some things out.
So.
I will say, I got a good laugh out of your Tom Brady tweet.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I like to talk about sports too. And like the worst thing is I hate is when like I posted like who wants to join my fantasy football team, and somebody was like, is that like when orcs play soccer or some shit? I'm like, oh my god, bro. I let y'all have your nerd shit. I can't post about football one time. Oh man. Yeah. I'm glad people like the content, though. I'm glad I get a lot of pushback these days. I'm getting a lot of pushback.
You just gotta sharpen in the blade, Just gotta sharpen the blade a little.
We love following you, man. It's
yeah.
I mean, always entertaining and
funny stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If to the listeners and viewers, if you're not already, check out it's at Stokes the writer. Is that correct? At Stokes the writer.
Yes.
On Twitter, you should follow him. If anything, you can get in a discussion with them about the Batman and how great of a movie that is.
Nah. long ass motherfucking movie. People didn't like that either. The thing I'm getting like attacked for now is the page turn conversation. That's something that's been like a hot button thing, and I don't know.
I saw your point, man. I saw your point. Like, I don't think you're. I don't know what people are getting upset about, because it makes sense that sometimes you just write and you just feel it out. You don't have to necessarily be scientific about the page turn.
Yeah. Well, it happens 50% of the time. Like literally, like mathematically. Well, it's just so much of like, and I love having this conversation because it's like technical, but essentially it's just a way to pace your comic books. And I don't hear a lot of I don't hear that I have a lot of pacing issues. I don't think you would read my comic books and say this is somebody who doesn't understand pacing. I think it's very deliberate. So it's like, I don't like rules. And I was telling somebody this, I don't have a formal writing background. Like I took a film appreciation class last year, and I took a creative writing class in like 11th grade. That's it. So I like all these rules, and it's fine if people want to use that, but when you're imposing those on me, because what happens is somebody will read an unconventional comic book and they'll be like, this exciting thing happened on the wrong page. And then really you should have multiple exciting things going. Like the way I try to pace my comic book is that something interesting happens on every page. Like every page is like, has a cliffhanger or a period or something like that. So why would I relegate that to every other page? So it's a matter of taste. I just don't like dogmatic people. It's like, man, get on.
No, I think, because even if you're holding the physical copy, it doesn't have to be a page turn. You got to also want to look at the next page. Like, so you end on that note, and then boom, you hear like, oh shit, what's happening next? Boom, what's happening? And so
that's even if you have a physical copy,
right?
Like, it's goofy. It's goofy. So
yeah, these days. You got Global Comics, you got Comixology, you got all Marvel Unlimited. There's just a bunch of different online platforms now.
Most people that back Kickstarters, they back at a digital level. Like,
oh really? That's interesting.
Oh yeah, because it's cheapest. It's the cheapest. It's the cheapest option. So like it just, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like my pacing is pretty good, or at least it's what I'm going for. So the whole thing of like, nobody can tell me I don't know how to make comic books. So what are we doing? Like, let's just disagree at that point. But
right.
Somebody told me I'm asking people for money, so I should come off like less of an ass while I'm campaigning.
So I'll put people.
Well, that's what Kickstarter is. Like,
they're getting something out of it. It's not. It's like I go into Nike store and be like, "Oh, you guys are asking me for money. You should just give me shoes."
I am asking for people to invest in my product, so it is probably better. But I think it's like hit or. I think some people understand that it's just. I'm just trying to entertain. Like, I'm just trying to make content entertain. I think some people get that, and some people don't. And if you don't get it, then that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You can follow in those accounts that's just like a promotion, just like, hey, I got this project coming out and that's it. You can follow one of them, like, go ahead. Like that's cool. I want to make people laugh.
And I would say, Anthony, that's why we wanted you back. I mean, we feel like you're genuine, and I think that comes through. So we appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, being genuine is so important. Like I have my next series already drawn out. Like it's called Intrusive Thoughts. Did I send you guys the press kit drive or the KC3 drive?
You did. You sent a press kit drive. I don't remember seeing that one in there though.
It's called Intrusive Thoughts, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm really excited because I wrote this year. Like I wrote this a couple 3-4 months ago. So it's a great representation of where I'm at as an artist. And I'm like, I'm really excited for it. And like, I'm like, that gets me more excited than this thing I've been working on for 2 years. But I can't pretend like I'm not, I should be promoting Decay, and I am, but it's like, I also have this other thing that I'm really excited for. But it's like, I just gotta be genuine. Like if it's not fun, then what are we doing?
Sure.
So Anthony, you said that you've got, I think you said you have the con coming up, right? Baltimore? Is that right?
Yes,
so
sir.
Are you, I guess because you said you're always trying to think of new ways to market and things. So is there anything, I guess, that might be a surprise to the people that stop at your booth at the con? Is there anything kind of new and interesting going on that you're going to try at the con?
No, because that's the thing, is that it's so much of like, I'm still new at this. This will probably be my 7th or 8th con. It's like 4 hours away from my house. I got so much going on. I'll probably just try to keep it pretty straightforward. Because now you're dealing with physical stuff as opposed to Twitter, which is like, it's digital. It's not real. Like, so I wish I had like a cool answer. And that's something I might try later. But right now, I'm just trying to have I'm just trying to move some comic books. Like, that's the goal this weekend.
Gotcha.
You're not going to get like one of those giant tables again?
The giant tables? I thought it was like a 10-foot table. That was like a 10-foot table, man. That shit was crazy. Y'all see the picture of that? You posted that? Oh, my God.
Yeah, I remember you showed.
That was rough.
You showed those.
That was rough. That was an ass cooking that day, but, I got better.
Yeah. That's all you can. I mean, I see you tweet that. I love that too, man. That it's like your own, or what do you call that? Affirmation or whatever. Today I'm going to get better at doing comics.
There's so much self-defeatism in it's hard. It's definitely hard, but I feel like people, that's like, I think there's a lot of, I would say, imposter syndrome. And I think they say like, the way that I combat that is like, I'm going to try to get better, like, because if you're getting better, you're progressing, then that should combat that. Like if you're feeling insecure about your skills or your talent or what have you. So it's something I like to put out so that, hey, it's like a rallying cry. Like, hey guys, let's do this. And I'm not taking massive steps here. I'm like, if I write 2 pages of a comic book and I read today, I read a script, I read Chainsaw Man, I watched the session, and like I worked on an outline. It's like that's getting better. Mm-hmm. That's getting better. I'm investing time in my craft. And that's easy stuff, that's simple.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good. I 100% agree with what you're saying. It's important to be positive in your own head as well. It's really easy, especially online, to allow yourself to get down and say, well, I didn't do this today, or look at the negatives, Mm-hmm. You got to find the positives in everyday stuff. So I totally agree with you.
And times get hard. Like I don't have a problem with people like voicing frustration or stuff like that, right? Because we can help with that. But it's so much of stuff that I don't feel is constructive.
Right.
Like I made a tweet months back because there's a conversation about, there's no money in comics. Like, and what people mean when they say that is they mean it's like it's hard to make a living in comics. It's hard to make a living in anything. But okay. And I said, you can make money in comics. And then somebody was like, I didn't. And I said, oh, wow, was there anything you could have done to like improve your chances? And then no response. And it's like, okay, that's not constructive. What can we do?
Right.
Yeah. Instead of like all the negativity, find out how to fix that. It's like, my, one of those things where it's instead of just saying no, it's no, but we can do this or we can try that.
And you can make that argument about anything. I mean, if you're a musician and you're out there hustling and doing $50 shows and you're thinking to yourself, geez, there's no money to be made in music. Well, there's somebody's making money in music. I mean, you just got to hustle and keep with it. That's what I was asking about earlier was this idea of how do you keep your momentum up and keep your energy level up. I know you said coffee, but just I think mentally too. Like how do you keep yourself engaged? You had mentioned that you got this other project, and those kind of things keep you creatively excited. But just from a mental standpoint, how do you keep that energy level moving?
I think community is important. I think talking to your boys. I have a great circle of friends. We're all making comic books. We're all doing things together. I think, like I said, looking for little victories, and making steps. It was one point I was really down. I have a whiteboard in my room, and I would write down anytime I did something to get better. I would just write it down. Stuff like that. Like you have to everybody's brain works differently, but you just have to kind of figure out little things to do to keep yourself motivated. But pushing the envelope and telling new stories is also really like what motivates me. And like I said, I'm really excited for these two next series. Like I'm like so excited like about those, and that's like I'm chopping at the bit to get those out, and that's what I'm looking at right now.
Do you want to share about those, or is it too early to jump in?
Yeah, you got the press kit link, right? You can take it's called Intrusive Thoughts, but absolutely, I'll talk about it. So it's called Intrusive Thoughts. It's like a mystery. There's this orphan, and he has a sleep paralysis demon that he sees, every other night or whatever. And this sleep paralysis demon bites a kid in his classroom. So it's like a mystery. It's very ominous and very atmospheric. Very unconditional art, very unconditional paneling. And I feel like it's like a great, like, taking the things I learned from Decay and then like applying it to like something new and applying the new things that I've learned and making something that is just a great representation of where I'm at right now as an artist.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, I'm sorry I missed that in the press kit. I was just looking, and I saw, because I saw the Decay stuff in there, and then I missed the Intrusive Thoughts.
I do it in there just like, hey, if you want to look, like it's in there.
So I had looked through it earlier, and there was the one panel that jumped out to me, where the guy's leaving the mansion, and the shadow in the ground is like the monster. And if you're not paying attention, you could miss it. It's kind of, it's there. It's not super subtle, but it's kind of subtle. I always like that kind of stuff, like that subtle imagery.
Yeah, it's kind of haunting, kind of ominous, very, very like I would say unconventional art style, but still identifiable as a comic book. And yeah, no, it's freaking gorgeous, and I can't wait. And then I'm working on a manga, a shonen manga that's coming out, because I want to try to. For me, I want to have different things on the table. Like I love making horror, but I want to make something that's like different, so I can appeal to different people. And manga is like a really popular thing right now. Also, if you make manga and you make comics, now you can go to like anime conventions. So it opens up a whole new market. So that's something I'm excited for as well for next year.
That's very cool.
Is there a different? Oh, sorry, Shane.
No, go for it. No.
Is there a different? Well, I would assume there is, but is there a different like style or thought process that goes into writing a manga versus what you've been doing with the comics?
Yeah, so it's right to left, and like American comics or just American text in general was left to right. And then it's a lot about poses. It's a different visual language that is not completely different, but it's subtle. So a lot of times you'll see there's like sound effects. Like I don't know if you guys read One Piece, but there's a character that gets introduced called Whitebeard. He shows up and it's like a doom sound effect. And what they'll do, which is really cool, is they'll have like Japanese characters in the American like English adaptation of the manga. And it just adds like this really amazing visual texture and juxtaposition. And it's so many things that if you read a manga, you wouldn't pick up on it. Like it's like subconscious at that point. But there is a lot. There is a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, like I've read some. Like one of my favorites was Trigun and stuff that I read in. So that's why I was wondering, like when you're writing it, you're trying to. I guess you have to think in a different way because you're also having to explain. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're writing these panels. You're having to explain that to the artist. So you're trying to think of how to explain that in a way that best visually represents itself in a manga.
I still think it's largely a lot. I feel like 80% of the process is the same. You're still trying to make things as visually interesting as possible. You're still trying to communicate ideas to an artist so they can communicate those ideas to readers. And there's a bunch. I think the big difference is in traditional manga is there's no color, and like I said, it's right to left. And then also, what's interesting is the paneling. Like manga, like a lot of comics are full bleed, but manga typically has traditional paneling, like as in panel. Like they don't do the whole full bleed thing. It's also different. Like it's smaller. Like if you read I would say that like American Comics is like 1.3 size, like a size in the like at a quarter of what a manga is. So it's like I said, it's little differences that you would have to keep in mind for.
Nice.
That's gonna be awesome, man.
I cannot wait.
Do you have one, Shane? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, more. My thing is going to be much more like about mindset again, and I apologize if I keep harping back on this, but I think it's important to talk about. And you mentioned you surround yourself with a good group of people that keep you energized, and I just want to put that out there. That I feel like that's super important. I mean that's I feel lucky to be on this show with these guys, because they keep me energized, and they're just good people to be around. And I just hope, we've had you on the show a couple of times. I just hope that you can always come back to our show if you're ever feeling down, and we'll help bring you back up.
I appreciate
that's what we're all,
bro.
That's what this whole show is supposed to be about. Is about bringing up independent, artists, and it can be lonely out there and hard to keep, motivated. So I just I'm just more.
Nah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Like I said, thank you for having me. This is definitely one of my favorite shows. I love you guys put the clips up and stuff like that. I don't think enough podcasts do that because it's such an easy. It's not an easy thing to do. So I know why they don't do it. But like, it's so much easier to get somebody to watch like a 20, 30-second clip and then like listen to a whole podcast. And of course, you can use that clip for multiple platforms. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So.
Yeah. Well, we want to,
very crafty.
Get out there and share, we don't want to just post it and then we're done with it. You know what I mean? Video podcast is up. All right. Hope somebody look, we want to, because it's not helping you all, which is again, the main thing for our show is not just to promote ourselves, but to help promote y'all. And that's also why, and I think the guys will agree, like we have one person on at a time because we want to be able to focus on the one artist, the one creator, whatever, and what they're doing and not like muddy the waters, if you will, and just be like, oh, here's all these things going on, so nobody's focused on that. We want to give you a chance to shine and stuff, and pick your brain about everything you're doing. So the promotional stuff is a way to get more eyes on your guys' projects. So
hell yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that.
Of course, man.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, it's always great talking to you. I'm so glad you were able to come back on again, and I it just brings me a lot of joy to know that you're continuing with your book and with the story, and you keep putting art out into the world. My feeling about it is, if you're putting art out into the world, you're doing a good thing. So I appreciate it. So
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, real quick to all listeners and viewers, check the show notes, check the video description, wherever you're listening or watching. We're going to have links to the Kickstarter. We'll have links off. I'll make sure to put a link off to Anthony's Twitter as well, so you can follow along and join the conversation.
Please, I need the engagement.
Check and make sure when you go to Anthony, check the pin tweet. Make sure the link's working.
Please, I need it.
All right. Well, thanks again for tuning in. We would love having guests come back. That's always a good time. And Anthony's a great guy, so make sure to check out his stuff. Please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell so we can keep bringing you content like this. And we'll see you on the next one.